The expectations of how. So based off of the experiences that we've had in life, some beliefs, some frameworks, some paradigms that we subscribe to, there's always, or there can be, this need to know how it's going to happen. And the need for certainty, the need to know the outcome, the need to know the exact framework, all the steps. And with that need actually blocks the what. And so what's going to happen is that our mind is going to imagine and try to predict the future, create certain scenarios and entertain the scenarios. And often it's going to be rooted in this, well, that can't happen because, based off of the perspective that we have about the world and these previous experiences that we've had, we project them into the future, and then often it's going to be repetition of those things. So let's say, for example, that there was a traumatic experience that you had in life, and there's this need for safety, there's this need for security, and there's this hypervigilance or this kind of fear state around what may happen if we don't know the outcome, if the control is let go of. And so we're in the state of always needing to know what could go wrong. Well, if it doesn't work out, what's going to happen then? And in this state, we essentially just cockblock ourselves. Nothing really changes. Or in the effort of creation, it becomes a lot of work. It becomes a lot of energy. We're tied to these goals. We're tied to these steps that we have to follow to create in the physical. And once we drop this need to know of how it's going to happen, then it actually happens that much faster. It happens that much easier. It just shows up. And when we allow ourselves not to need to know, instead we just know it's going to happen, then things become a lot easier. And things become a lot simpler. But it's these expectations that we place on everything that cause the suffering, that cause the anxiety, that cause the stress, that cause the overwhelm, the pressure, the to-dos, the musts, the have-tos, the responsibilities, the obligations, all these things that us humans can get involved in when we don't really trust ourselves. And so we externalize everything on this framework of this is what I have to do in order to make it happen. And there might be some element of truth to that, but not really. That's not really what it's all about. That's just an option of choosing to experience life and choosing to create. And when there is this deeper form of trust, and there's this deeper sense of certainty in self, not certainty in the future, not certainty of the outcome, then we no longer rely on our minds to need to know everything. What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen this weekend? What's going to happen 15 minutes from now? And always making sure that we're in this state of preparedness and readiness. I got to make sure I get this right. And all these elements of control to make sure that the shoe doesn't drop and things fall apart in the worst case scenario that may show up. And there's a lot of talk about freedom in this coaching space. There's a lot of talk about, letting go and all these concepts that are, more ethereal or maybe a little bit nebulous in terms of, well, what does freedom actually mean? What does it actually mean to no longer have this state of frustration or confusion or heaviness? And it's just really understanding that the mind is going to always play these scenarios, and we can choose to entertain the illusion of what we've been told, what we've been told to believe, what we've been told is the right way to do things, what we've been told life is all about, and all of these things that really aren't our own. We're not really our own principles, not really our own philosophies. They've just been adopted from the world. And when we go through this state of blindly accepting what we've been told to be true, without really split testing these paradigms and figuring out what's true for me, then that's when we get stuck. That's when we start to experience a lot of this existential angst, the concern, the worry, the fear, and the need to know. And so once we allow ourselves not to be involved in that game of what we've been told to believe, what we've been told is the right way to do things, well then, things just get a lot simpler.